And so everything else is on there, right? We're good? Okay. So the minutes from the last meeting of October 27th. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the October 27th minutes.
Second.
I'll second it. I have no voice. I'll second the motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the minutes are approved. Public safety report. Chief.
Evening, everyone.
Evening.
Good evening.
We will talk about the public safety report covering the period October 23rd through November 5th, 14-day period. We had total 7 assist other agencies, which includes the state police, Carroll County Sheriff's Office, Howard County Police. 2 assaults, 3 assist citizens, 2 burglaries, 1 disorderly conduct, 1 DUI, 2 family trouble calls, 2 follow-ups, 278 foot patrol checks or crossing details, 2 miscellaneous calls, 4 motor vehicle collisions, 1 sudden death, 3 suspicious persons or vehicle, 3 traffic hazards, 1 traffic offense, and 1 violation of town ordinance, for a total of 313 incidents for 14 days, which is phenomenal work by the men and women of the Sykesville Police Department. That total over 14 days, just looking back to May, is 10% more than what we did for the whole month of August in just 14 days. So I think you're seeing in the realization of adding the 2 new officers and how the calls for service and patrol checks and so forth are increasing. So it's a good job. Excellent. Any questions?
It just seems like the calls for service are down, but the foot patrols are up. There's more police presence out there, I guess, is the best way to put it.
The calls for service are pretty much the same, but with the added officers, we're now able to do more proactive things like more patrol checks, more crossing details, more traffic enforcement initiatives, which I might add, we did 12 during that 14-day period. So it's allowing us a little more freedom to, like I said, be more proactive and get out and be more visible. I'm hoping that you're seeing that. So
Very good, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for the visibility, especially Halloween. Great.
You guys are working out? Fitting in?
very well. Yep,
Good.
perfect fits.
Good.
Very pleased with their efforts.
Okay. Any special notes for the holidays? Or for Thanksgiving coming up?
Nothing special. We'll probably have a couple PSAs to go out, just wanting people to be safe, don't drink and drive, the usual reminders. Buckle up, use caution, drive safety, especially in small towns where there's a lot of congestion, a lot of holiday traffic and pedestrians. Be safe, use common sense.
Good. Well, thanks, I appreciate everything. Any additional questions for the chief? Okay,
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
we'll have you back shortly. Okay, council committee reports. We'll start with you, Leo.
Main Street Board, we have not had a meeting since the last time we met. Right now, the only thing Main Street Association is working on is the Mary Main Street coming up, and Al will be touching on that with promotions, but that's all we have for Main Street right now.
Okay. And that's coming up, announcements.
The Historic District Commission last met on October 28th. We had 2 applications, but only reviewed one of them. One of them was tabled. The applicant himself was not present, and we didn't have enough information to come up with a decision to render on the sign that was part of the application. So we will, I guess, discuss that perhaps at our next meeting. We did review and recommend the passage of the application for the Schatz building. They're going to do some restoration to the facade. And everything that was presented was in keeping with the guidelines and met all recommendations, so that passed with no problem. And it was a good opportunity for an educational experience between the building owner and the commission. We exchanged a lot of information and ideas for future projects. And that was a very short meeting. We are in the throes of the holiday season coming up, and our regular scheduled meetings actually fall the same time as right around Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we're looking for a rescheduled date of possibly December 9, and not having a meeting at all in November. But that will be based upon applications and such. And I have no voice, so that's good. I'm glad nothing else to say.
No comments from this.
You were screaming at the game?
A little bit.
Okay. Okay, and then WDC, so we did have some meetings. We're still not, the board has not met, but there's ongoing negotiations going on with the Warfield development contract, so we're still working on some details with state agencies and such to try to finalize some things. I didn't know did you have any more comments on that, or?
There is, you could probably mention the meeting this week.
Right,
More
that's
full.
what I was,
Public Works.
right. Oh, so yes, the Board of Public Works meeting is actually Wednesday, correct? And we were on the agenda, off the agenda, now we're back on the agenda. So we're trying to finalize some of those details with some of the state. I think there were some last minute things that came up from DGS, so we're working out all the details of that, and hopefully it's looking positive. All right, so we're working on that, so I'll keep you posted. The other issue that came up was some of the security stuff, and I wanted to make you guys aware of it, and I know the chief is aware of it, talking with them, but they've just been having additional security issues at Warfield with, people getting into buildings and stuff like that, so we may look at some opportunities for the council to work with them to secure the buildings. There may be some cost sharing and stuff like that they had mentioned, so I just want to make you aware of it, so you're not like, what, where'd this come from? Just to secure the buildings during all this, because they really don't own the buildings, the TWC, while this is going on, they're our buildings still, and it's kind of our duty to keep them secure, so we're working, I know the chief's working with them and trying to find some solutions. We're working on signs, and then we're also considering some options of maybe some private security to assist and help, so.
Cameras?
Yeah, there's a whole slew of, I think, the
Ideas.
chief's working on a whole
Good.
bunch of stuff with them too, to try to.
Good.
A comprehensive solution, which may include some of these different things, so.
Okay.
I thought it would be prudent to give you a heads up in case something pops up, you'll be aware of what's going on. So other than that, I think that's about it,
Okay.
so.
Well, as I mentioned last time, for the Milton Memorial, all the materials are here. We're waiting, the same people are doing the rebirth of the schoolhouse. We'll be actually doing the Milton Memorial, so we're waiting on that. I keep driving by the schoolhouse to see how the progress there is going, so that we can be ready for the next step. So have you heard any more word on how things are going? Any ideas on dates, times?
The wall, as far as I know, is done, so I
Okay.
think that the contractor has the other job he needs
Right.
to complete, and then he'll be back for the military memorial.
He's got one in Baltimore, he's in between, and then back here, so we're very close. I know we keep saying we're close, so we're getting closer, one step at a time. Also for the parking committee too, we met tonight, Rose Topper, myself, and Dawn. We're looking at some restructuring of around Baldwin's to try to see if we can fit in some extra ADA accessible parking spaces, and then also some additional spaces too. So we've had some good citizen input on that. Our last committee meeting with some ideas about redrawing that whole space to fit in a few extra spots, because every spot is helpful. So that's where we are on all those things right now. Thanks.
Planning Commission met on November 4th, and we had a public hearing on the master plan amendment and the zoning ordinance amendment. We will be introducing the master plan amendment tonight later on in the agenda.
Okay.
All right, we're having a Mary Main Street planning meeting, Wednesday, November 12th, 6:15 to 7 o'clock right here. We divvied out action items at our last meeting, just gonna report back on them. Everything seems to be falling in place, we're pretty much ready to go, but just gonna go through it one more time. Everyone is welcome.
And when is that again?
Wednesday, 6:15 to 7. Right here.
Okay.
Parks
Anna.
and Rec, we haven't met since our last Mayor and Town Council. Our scheduled meeting is the fourth Thursday of the month, which happens to be Thanksgiving. So we're thinking that we're gonna have it on Thursday the 20th, which is in 2 weeks. It's here at the townhouse at 7 o'clock. All is welcome.
Okay. Okay, in our announcements, we're having a Veterans Day celebration tomorrow, right here at the townhouse. We're gonna raise the flags, because our flags haven't been out, so it's been, we wanna get our flags back up. We're working on maybe getting some newer poles, but in the meantime, there's talk of, I want some newer poles, so let me correct that.
I'm with you.
But, so we're gonna get the flags back up, because I think it's important, and, we're gonna have the American Legion come down. They've agreed to come down and do a flag raising ceremony for us, which we're excited about, and then, we're gonna have some refreshments too, hamburgers, hot dogs, 11 o'clock, or 12 o'clock, I'm sorry, but I gotta be here at 11 to start cooking, so. So come on out tomorrow at noon and help us, because we need all the folks we can get. So, and then also, our Mary Main Street, as Al had mentioned, is on Saturday, December 6th, and we have a new location for the tree lighting, so it's important to let everybody know about that. It's gonna be down by the fountain this year due to the, hopefully, military memorial construction starting. So, let everybody know about that. We'll be down at the fountain this year. And, what's the tree lighting at 6? Is that what time that starts? I think there's gonna be some other events planned for that, but that'll be with your
Holiday
planning,
decorating
right?
contest.
Yeah. When's that coming up? Did we,
Well, yeah.
We set that last meeting, yep.
did we set that
What's the
time?
date, Jim?
Yep, I'll give you the date.
December 15th.
So
Turn
we
your lights
probably should
on.
mount that. So December 15th, we're
Win the
having a
grand prize.
holiday lighting and decorating contest. So it's always a fun event, because the mayor and town council will come out to your house and ring your doorbell and,
Scare the
yeah,
hell out of
scare you. And then, it's Halloween all reverse. And then we give you an award for winning, if you have the best decorating, so it's a lot of fun. So that's, December 15th, so have your lights on for that one.
Leo, do we still have the
Any
12 hours
additional?
of Christmas on December 5th, before Mary Main Street, the night before, where the shops are staying
Yes,
open?
yes.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so there you go, 12 hours of, I saw that on my
And what
planning
day is that?
thing. So that's the
December
Friday before Mary
Friday the
Main
5th.
Street, right?
Okay, got it.
Yep, so 12, come on down, support your local business. It's so important to buy local these days, you know, there's a lot of great products here, a lot of great gift ideas right here in Sykesville. Keep the money local, and you can get some great service and some unique stuff that you can't find at the big box stores, so come on down and check it out. Any other announcements? Anything else we forgot?
Cookies on Main Street, December 12th.
Cookies?
Cookies on Main Street,
Oh, man, cookies, don't forget that. So when's cookies?
December
Next.
12th.
The next Friday?
Cookies on Main Street
Or
on December 12th?
Yeah, from 6 to 8.
Friday.
6 to 8, so come on down, save your, if you don't, whatever you don't buy or you see, you can come back and get it and then get cookies too. So there you go, you make 2 trips, because the first time you find what you want, and then you come back and get it before somebody else gets it. So there you go. All right, so, anything else? Last chance? Lots of good stuff coming up. All right, so on to our open session, today, so, it's our cable franchise agreement with Comcast is coming up, and Marion Ware, the director from the Carroll County Media Center, is here to discuss the agreement and its importance to the town. So if you'd like to take the podium and. Okay. And I'll start off by thanking you. You guys do a great job, and I personally am fully supporting your efforts to keep the public informed, and, you know, it's such an important service that you guys provide all around the county, so thank you for that. And
Thank you.
My name's
hearing where, I think I know some of you, but not all of you, lots of new faces, that's nice to see. But I have been here, let's see, too long to maybe recall. At least 14 years. And one of the first things I wanted to say before I introduce my other members of the board that are here is that my memories of this town are very specific because Jonathan Herman called me up. I was brand new, I had just been hired, and he wanted me to come down, and he had this discussion with me about the charrette that he wanted to do. And I didn't at the time even know what the charrette was. So, and we didn't have Google, I don't believe. So I came down, he was so enthusiastic about the idea that he could have a channel. He kept saying, we as towns should have a channel. And all the ideas that he had to promote local community. I mean, that was his thing, totally. And one of the things was, of course, the charrette, which was involving the public and a planning session development, but planning, everyone, bringing everyone around the table. And come to Springfield Hospital, there was nothing there. It was lugging cameras into this building that was basically falling apart. And for a week we filmed. And I think, and we still have that. We still have that. So that has become, to me, like part of your history with Sykesville. And then he wanted us to do the stonemasons and start looking at all the people in the town that had special skills that were kind of dying out. So trades, he was interested in that, art. So it was really kind of inspirational to me to come down and see this person that was so enthusiastic. And at the time, we were not talking municipal channel. There was no municipal channel. But I think that was an idea that he sort of spread the way Jonathan did. And people said, why not? Why shouldn't towns have their own local channel? And so in the next franchise, we negotiated for that. And so we have a combined channel. But originally, all of the towns thought they were going to get what was called a segmented channel. So they would all get a channel that was just local to Sykesville or local to Hampstead. So that's a little bit of the history. I want to introduce a couple of my board members that are here tonight. Alan Bodesh, who just passed these out from the community college, is on our board and finance committee. And Leo Eaton, who is the vice chair of our board. And he has his own production company actually here in Carroll County. Very well-known documentarian, Emmy Award winning for BBC and PBS, and has a new series that's just coming out now. So he's here just to speak with you briefly. And I want to say, I want to thank the council, I want to thank Dawn for allowing this time, because I know, I looked, I know what a busy schedule you have. So we'll try to make it very brief. And therefore, please ask me questions. So just jump in and ask me questions, because I don't know how much all of you know, and I don't want to miss something. You can always come see us in Westminster or call us, but you know, just ask me questions about anything that you don't know. So, but basically, so the channel is pretty much probably what you do know. We sent you a letter. We're extremely concerned about this franchise. We don't feel that it is negotiated in our best interest, certainly long term. Our ability to make change in our facility, which is in Westminster, or even your ability to continue these services for your channel. I mean, we provide, we help you provide the content a lot through volunteers, even volunteers that are here in Sykesville. You may not know that facility is associated with Career and Tech. We're right across the street. So we have about 50 students a year that come through and use the studio there. And they're trained not just in media, but in graphics. We now have an intern in IT, actually. So they not only have a chance to learn through the studio, but they have internships after that and come back to the facility and we teach them. And we put them on projects that are kind of real life projects, so they get real work experience. And they get to network with people in the community, and hopefully that gets them either a job or a better reference in terms of the next steps for them. We're hoping to develop a program with the community college and then some other four-year school. So that's kind of that piece. If you would look, I don't know if you looked inside, but this is kind of the yearly report that we give you that lets you know how many hours of service we provided for Sykesville in the past year. And it's the yearly report. What I'd like to say about this is it's become very apparent recently in this last 10-year, now 14-year contract, that the direction of the municipalities has changed very much towards economic development. So it's not just the fact that we cover your events, but we also promote your events. You have a web channel, we do web streaming, we do lots of things out to the internet. This weekend we just had a workshop and there were 4 people that came, and it was a small workshop. We've just started these kind of more the trail and the environment. This was a tree identification workshop actually. And all of them, all 4 of them said, we found it on the web. You know, I mean, but we do have a calendar. When you started talking about all these great events, I was trying to write them down, but you should be using that calendar because lots of people do. And every weekend we identify the top 5 events and we try to really push and people go. So we get a lot of hits, increasing web presence. And we really see that as our future. So helping the municipalities be able to develop.
Samir, so what's the best way for us to communicate with you for
With the
that?
calendar, right? Good
With
question.
the calendar, you can go on and actually put on the event. Anybody here can.
Oh, we can?
We
Okay.
just review it before we publish it.
Okay.
But anybody can do that, and if you have any trouble doing it, or it doesn't work, or any problems, just go to my staff, John Holbert, who's the administrative person at the front desk. He'll either walk you through it, or he'll do it for you. Also, clubs, service clubs, these are just a couple of things that I don't think people realize we do. We have an electronic bulletin board, and it runs on the web. Lots of seniors watch that. So churches, service clubs, they should all be using us. You know, don't underutilize us. We're here to serve. This is a great deal. It's supported through the franchise fees. Part of these are your franchise fees, so you should be using us. I do have to say just quickly before I introduce someone else, that Ivy, I have to mention Ivy because that really did kind of change the game here. You definitely used a lot more this year. And I think that's because you had somebody planning way ahead. That's one of the things it takes. You know, with us, we have a small staff, but if we know far enough ahead, you have a planning session once a year, anybody's invited to come. Tell us what you think is important for us to do and how we should, you know, interact with which people, and we can get it done. So Ivy was great. I mean, she was great. She really saw a lot of opportunity, and she used us to promote, and she used the web. So we'd love to see more of that next year. All right.
We hope to have another Ivy for you, so.
Okay, good.
Just to let you know.
No, that is, you know, I mean, everybody, just like us, we know,
Right.
you know, it's difficult. We're all in challenging times, and none of us have the kind of resources we would like, but this is a great resource. And your town is a great resource, and using this to, you know, help you do economic development and help you engage your people in the life of your community is the mission of this channel. So, you know, please do find someone that would like to do that, because we'd love to work with them.
So just a couple quick questions for you guys. You said ask questions.
No,
So when will Sykesville be getting their own channel? That's our first question. I'm just-
The mayor wants his own
I
channel.
say you push for all 8 channels. If we keep the one, we're getting what we want, right?
Right.
And then who
4
actually,
hours a day,
right.
webcam.
That's it. And then, who advocates for you? Because I know you said there's some concerns, but who negotiates this for you at the county level, I guess,
The
right?
Cable Regulatory Commission. So you have a representative at the Cable Regulatory Commission that
Who-
represents Sykesville.
Okay,
And
so that's,
that person is the one that should know
okay,
kind of where the negotiations are with Comcast. What we've been told, and the reason we're going out to all the municipalities, is Where they included us initially, they are no longer including us. And they also, after we told them kind of our needs, they negotiated a lot. I'm just being honest, but I think this is true. They negotiated heavily for broadband. It's not a broadband franchise, it's a TV franchise. So I think they spent a lot of time on that, and then they got to PEG last, the PEG services. I'm not quite sure, but we don't know. They're unwilling to tell us what they have negotiated.
Who was they? Who was
The
they?
Cable Regulatory
Cable,
Commission.
okay, all right.
Yes, so we were told that they will not do that, and they will, but they will when they get a basic agreement with Comcast, which they say they have or are getting now. I think it was supposed to be September. They are going to release it to the municipalities. So, and we're very concerned because we're not sure that they even realize the things that they may be giving up. So for instance, HD channels. We know what the regional people are getting from Comcast. And we know about, I think, where we should be. And we're concerned that we're not. And that it may be that people are just tired. This contract is 4 years overdue. They may just be tired and not willing to negotiate any longer. But we see no reason to really them settle, you know.
Who is the head of the Cable Regulatory Commission, do we know?
Mark Ripper is
Okay.
the chair.
Okay,
He's county.
might be
IT.
worthwhile to contact him. Mayor?
Yeah. Well, I guess part of my question was that, what should we know, how will the municipalities get some of the critical items noted that we should be looking for in these agreements? I mean, that, you know, versus, I know we have our cable representative, but as well as from a municipal standpoint, some of the items that are critical to the CMC, are you gonna make a list of those items, or is that in our?
We could do that. We
That'd be
could do
helpful,
that. We
right.
will, okay. So right now, we're trying to get feedback from the municipalities in terms of how they want us to proceed. But we at least want you to be very aware that this is something that you should be concerned about and that you should be kind of ahead of.
Right.
When it hits you in terms of at least letting us get a take on it and tell you what we think is missing.
So once we get the final piece, we can send that back, we can still negotiate that or send that back saying,
I
hey.
don't know. that.
Right, I know.
Dennis, do you have a good sense of that? I mean, Dennis has been very involved, and he was, and initially, when they ask us to sort of highlight what our needs are.
Yeah, I've been kind
I don't know
of
if
serving
I
as
should-
special counsel to the media center, so I've been involved a little bit. Originally, we were asked just to give our list of desires to the negotiators who were representing the county, and then they would go to Comcast and negotiate the concerns of the media center. As they, again, you're talking about a franchise that is 4 years beyond its expiration date, which has been extended year by year as we've gone along. So the franchise agreement that we're operating under is 14 years old, which included at the beginning a large tranche of money that came in to help build the building and put in the
Start,
equipment.
right.
So you're now talking about 14 years later, where we started with analog equipment, and we're now, in an HD environment. And so the kinds of things that the community meeting center has done is gone and gotten a consultant to list all the new equipment that would be appropriate to purchase to bring it up to current technological levels. Of course, that has a large number associated with it, as you can well imagine. And then, there's an operating component to the funds that come out of both the county and the town's contributions to from its franchise fees to continue to operate CMC. So all of this information is readily available because it's been presented to the county negotiators, so they can make this available to each and every town to say this was our original wish list, and we have no idea. I'm speaking for her now. We have no idea what's coming down the pike in terms of the results of the negotiation. I think it's fair to say that the reason why Marion is now going town to town is if you're not willing, if the county's not willing to say, this is where we are, it can't be good. So. I'm sorry, maybe I stole your thunder.
I think I'm gonna ask Leo Eaton to come up and talk just a little bit about sort of why we think it's important that we upgrade this facility in terms of even, I think I looked at even, let's see, career and tech in this area has something like 115 students. 160 from Century, 112 from Liberty. Those are students going to career and tech. And we have about 50 in media. So, and I'm not quite sure what the breakdown is Sykesville, but there's lots of other reasons besides covering events, which we love to do actually, and the volunteers love to do, including the Christmas tree lighting. But there's lots of other reasons to support this facility, and most of it's around education. And you know, letting people know
Yeah,
what
they came
you
in and
do
did the
want to
history,
support.
and we did some history lectures and stuff like that too. They did a great job.
Yes, we do that and the oral history project, of
Right.
course.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
In spite of my accent, I've actually lived here in the county for 27 years. But as Marion said, I'm a documentary filmmaker, and most of my work is international, PBS, the BBC, all over the world. But I have been on the board of the Media Centre now for 7 years?
Yeah.
Way too long. Marion kind of dragooned
I
me
won't let
into
him
it
get-
some years ago, and I was the chair for 2 years, 3 years. And what is so critical to us, and as you all know, I mean, media is changing monthly, let alone yearly. And as Dennis said, what we're dealing with at the moment is 14-year-old equipment. And most of it is sealing wax and string and kind of patching it together. So part of the reason this franchise is so critical and why we felt it's so important to come down and talk to you and all the municipalities is if the CRC hasn't negotiated the sort of funding that Dennis was mentioning to enable us to go and upgrade, we're frankly out of business in a few more years. It is that. And Channel 23, we're increasingly now, back 14 years ago, it was a one-way system. We put out and people watched. Now it's all interactive. On the web, what we're doing there, what we're able to do, whether it's community engagement, whether it's economic development, all of this for all the community in our county, for the municipalities, for you guys, for the county. We can serve you best when we're up to speed with what the latest technology is. So we really want you to just understand, as this goes into its final stages, how important it is. How important it is for you, how important it is to us, and frankly, how important it is for just general media education in the county as a whole. Because that's where we're going, increasingly. And people need to understand it, career and tech are learning it. More and more people now, volunteers are coming and beginning to really learn, and particularly the History Project, really safeguarding our past. So we just thank you for the time. It's great to meet you guys. Years ago, my wife was the South Carroll reporter for the Times, so she's come down here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks for coming.
Can you imagine if your kids were being taught with 1930 world maps? Okay, well, that's the equivalent of what we're starting to do with the kids in career and tech, is teaching technologies that are outmoded. So one of the most significant things that they do is provide educational services to the kids in our county school system, and we're giving them 1930 maps.
So Marion, do you have a task force you're putting together to talk to the Cable Regulatory Commission? What's your plan
This
of
is her
attack?
task force.
I mean, do you have, as you're starting to put together obviously you guys are highly motivated to do something.
Yes, and it's more the board right now.
Okay.
We are going to, I think we're scheduled for the presentation at the December MML meeting.
Oh, great.
So I think there has been some discussion among even some of the town managers, city managers, about a letter that might come from the municipalities saying how important this is, and that we have to work it out, whatever franchise is decided, primarily by Comcast. I have to say, we're gonna have to work it out, whatever it is, right? It's like everything. We're gonna have to work it out, and whether it's the commissioners and working it out with them, or whatever, we're gonna have to work it out together. We cannot just say, oh, well, we'll have a county channel, no municipal channel. It won't fly, not for anybody, so. But any suggestions you can give me, please let me know, because we're trying to look for the best way to do this.
Okay, sir, Jim?
Considering we're behind already, instead of going to HD, is there any consideration of leaving at 4K and trying to get ahead of the wave for once?
Well, and there are people on the equipment committee that are talking about that in terms of how does this plan in the reality of over 10 years, because the contract's 10 years. We're not just looking at HD. But Comcast, at least at this point, is even refusing to give you the ability to broadcast in HD. So that, to me, is like, well, just go back and figure it out, because you're giving it to everyone else. Don't we rate the same? Of course we do. They use the public right-of-ways. They use the public right-of-ways. You all manage the public right-of-ways. So you do have the authority to at least get them to the table and say, be reasonable about this. They have to be treated equally.
I guess my concern is, as we move through HD into 4K, most people would notice you turn on the television and you
Yes.
see something in great depth, and you turn to another channel, and no offense, but the BBC stuff, the old PAL format from 1970 or 1960, everything's blurry, you go, oh, this is terrible. Off you go. Well, off you go now. And if we don't keep up, pretty soon we'll just be that ugly little channel hanging down.
That's exactly
Absolutely.
right.
That's
You
our
said it
concern.
perfectly.
That's our concern.
So I'd like to get your card too, maybe. I'm always co-opting people better. But to me, this is, he's an example of, to me, that's the sort of thing all of this does. If we can get community resources, there's so many people in the community that have such expertise. We can do anything we want to do. I really believe that. I'm a total optimist about that. That's why I got involved in this stuff. I think it's really empowering to know that we can use this, not for, 100 channels of what, but to develop and to promote our own communities. That's powerful stuff.
Is there somebody on the board that's from Sykesville? Do we know? on your board?
Yes.
We have Kasnia, Mike Kasnia.
Kasnia is on. Okay.
Is our representative, yes, so.
That's the regulatory commission.
Right.
No, I was thinking about your board.
Oh, not on the
Oh,
board.
No,
CMC.
we'd love to have someone.
Okay.
There you go.
In fact,
Absolutely.
we're expanding the board, so suggestions
We're
very
looking
much.
for about 7 people, because we want to make it larger.
So I think it's important maybe to point out to people as you're doing this, is the fact that this is how the citizens get notified of what's going on in local government as well. I mean,
Yes.
that's the big missing piece, with newspapers shrinking, people just don't have the time to come to these meetings and get the information, and this offers an avenue for them
And they go
to
to the
see.
web.
Yes, and then the website connectivity with that, is important, so.
And it's a way for them to talk back to you too, so you get that interactive dialogue, which is.
Right. Well, it's good. It's as bad as it is, it's good. That's the way to communicate with our, the problem is getting that message out for local governments. I think that's, from our perspective, is so important. That channel works. You don't know how many people
Oh, yeah.
I've heard say,
All the time.
I watch that, and that's how they get what's going on in their local towns.
That's how they get to go to sleep at night.
So that's, yes.
Thank you, Frank.
Well, with the blurry vision TV, they do that, right? So.
Well,
but
we
anyway.
appreciate what you do, and so I think there's a, now that we're more aware of what's going on, I think that'd be helpful. So if we devise some sort of strategy that we can do to help you, obviously with the county commissioners and everybody too. Have some
Right, and
influence.
we'll have all the representatives, hopefully, at the
MML, yeah.
So maybe make them aware too, and they can
Good.
help out as well.
Which
so.
I believe we're hosting, right?
Yes, we're hosting, right here in beautiful downtown Sykesville.
Absolutely.
As
Right.
a final note, I keep telling Marion that she has to make CMC more available to the town.
There you go. Good.
So that we can use the resource, and that takes a two-way conversation.
Okay. Good.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming out this evening, and we'll see you in December too. All right, next item, Chief, you're back up. It's elopements from Springfield Hospital Center.
Weddings again?
It's another runoff wedding. Well, not quite the same elopement.
As you will recall, back in September, we had an elopement from the Springfield Hospital Center, and that actually was a good opportunity for me to delve into policy, both internally and amongst the partner agencies, as well as meet some of the key representatives that are involved in the overall plan. So I think we've learned a lot from it and benefited from it in the future. I think things will run a little smoother. Some of the things we've done internally was I revamped a special order that we had within the police department, just kind of mandating notification procedures, response procedures, so that when something like that does happen, A, we get an officer on the scene, B, that officer then notifies the supervisor or me, and then C, the supervisor or me then in turn speaks with the town manager. We have a collective discussion regarding the danger of the individual to the town, and we make a decision in terms of mass notification of town residents, either by Nixle, reverse 911, the Facebook page, a number of the different ways that we can do those notifications. So I think the internal policy will help our officers to understand what's required of them, what they have to do. The other element was that we'd have an officer respond to the middle school in all cases when school's in session, so that the person that's standing by that can alleviate the fears of the school and be there as a visible deterrent, or if nothing else, just to be able to communicate with the principal and let them know what's going on.
Great.
So, yeah, I think that part of it is good. Some other things we've done, of course, I mentioned the implementation of Nixle. Great way to get the word out to a lot of people. Again, text 888-777 and enter your zip code, and you're automatically signed up to get notifications when we make them. So it's a great notification tool, but it's just one of a number of tools that Reverse 911 is still in use. The Facebook page, and a number of other avenues. So.
888-777.
Yep.
All right, send a text to that, and then enter in your,
Zip code, yep, and you're
Okay.
automatically signed up for future notifications.
all right.
Again, it allowed me to meet with a number of the different agencies, the representatives of the agencies. I met with the new facility administrator at the Central Correctional Facility. I have had meetings with both the chief of police and the deputy director of operations for Springfield Hospital Center. I'm in the process of trying to schedule a meeting with the chief of police and CEO for the SET facility. They actually have separate police department, whole structure there. So one of the other things we did along those same lines is there was an existing MOU which had been signed back in 2008 along with an emergency contact list that was in dire need of being updated. So what we've done is we've reached out to all the agencies that were on that contact list, which was essentially all of the businesses and government agencies within the whole, basically this whole area that might be affected by, an escape or an elopement. So we've updated that list with all, the key players so that everyone knows who to speak to in the event of, an incident or a crisis over there. So that was another key step.
Is there some way to keep that updated, or how are you gonna, what are the plans to keep that current?
When we updated it, we asked each agency to please, if there are changes, please let us know. But I
Right.
guess it's gonna be a matter of
Every so often,
periodically
yeah,
sending it back out and asking everybody to look at it. And
Okay.
make any changes to it to keep it current. But
yeah.
I think it's good just to have for any incidents outside.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
a good resource list for us to have and for the other agencies to have, so everybody knows who everybody is.
Okay.
What else did we do? Of course, we mentioned before the website that we located for escape notifications from the Department of Correctional Services, the www.dpscs.state.maryland.us. You can go on that website and you can enter for this region, the central laundry facility, and you'll automatically be notified if there's an escape from that facility. So another good website for people to be aware of.
So one more time, that was www.dps.
DPSCS. .state.md.us. It's called the
Okay.
Maryland Community Escape Alert System.
All
So
right.
Chief, do we know how quickly they update that? I mean, as soon as they find somebody, do they send out a blast on that, or is it after the event? Have we had any experience with that yet? Okay,
Not that I'm
not yet, okay. That's okay.
Something we kind of recently found that is
Sure.
there. It's
I think
for
it's
the
pretty
whole-
quick.
It's for the whole Department of Corrections system.
Yeah.
So each
State.
facility has its, its own little
Okay.
link to that, so.
Well, I know there's an officer up in the neighborhood, and he said he got it that night, like he got it like the same night that it happened, when,
Okay.
like he knew about that, pretty quick.
Elopement.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I think it was either from Nixle or this other one of the two, but,
Maybe the next one.
yeah, might have been the
To
Nixle.
my knowledge, we haven't had an escape from the central, it used to be called.
Yeah, so it was
Laundry.
probably through the Nixle, and he signed up for different zip codes and stuff, and this would be one of them, and I think it came through that, so,
It's good to know it works. And
yeah.
We tested it internally and it seemed to work.
Right.
We're hoping more and more people will sign on.
Is that something we could do an e-blast for?
I thought we already did.
I know,
I think
maybe
we
do
did.
another one.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hurt. Wouldn't hurt to do an e-blast, a town e-blast.
Yeah, you can always do another
Sure.
one. We did do, I think we just did one, yep.
Maybe you could just include that with the Thanksgiving one that you're gonna put out or something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe. Just a
Yeah,
thought.
Happy Thanksgiving. Don't forget to sign up for your escape free.
That's right. Hey,
Well, I mean, if you
that's right.
just get inundated with town emails, most people will start ignoring them.
Right, I agree. So you,
That's true. Yeah, you wanna keep that thing, that's
Combine
good,
it.
good point.
yep,
And lastly, again, we found this MOU. I'm taking a look at it. It doesn't appear, from my review of it, that any of the language needs to be changed, other than, again, the signatories need to be updated with all the new parties. And that involves us, as well as State Police, Carroll County Sheriff's Office, SET facility, those agencies. So really, anyone involved in an incident over there that would have a role to play, this MOU kind of spells out the roles for each of those agencies. So it'd be good to have that updated, to make sure everybody's on the same page, and have updated signatures. So that is being reviewed right now by those agencies, and we're hoping to have it signed off on, fully implemented. So in summary, I think we're in much better shape than we were back in September. I think, this experience has been good for me, because it's kind of forced me to delve into this and meet the key players and review the policy. So I think we'll be in better shape next time, if there is a next time.
Well, Chief, I think you did a great job with that. Thank you very much.
so thank you. Yeah,
And thankfully, the set thing was a huge concern when it came around, but they've done a good job, so knock on wood with that, so. Okay, any other
thanks, Chief.
comments, questions? Okay, we're good. Thanks, Chief. All right, our next item on the agenda is the authorization for expenditures for the Visitors Center Post Office. So Dawn's gonna give us a brief update on this. This issue has been going on for quite some time, if you recall. But anyway, Dawn, would you like to go on?
Sure. We are concerned in the wintertime that the visitor center either promotes icicles, which could fall on people, or drips and then the sidewalk becomes slippery. And so we'd like to try and fix that with a gutter and downspout system. We've received an estimate for $3,800. We don't have that currently budgeted for the post office visitor center, so I'd like to request authorization to fund that so that we can do it this winter. Now,
So-
well,
Further?
I assume they're half round?
yeah, it says here,
round.
6-inch half-round galvanized gutter.
So correct, or 185 foot of 6-inch half-round galvanized.
Seems like a high quote,
Yeah.
like a really high quote.
Did we get a couple different bids on it, or?
I've only seen one, so are there other company, I mean, well, we
Have
could,
any
tell me
ideas
offline, I
for that?
guess.
Should we get a couple
Or email me
different-
if there's some other
Yeah.
ones, you know.
So I guess what we could do, if you wanted to maybe consider that as authorize her, that, and then see if we can get a different couple of quotes, maybe,
It seems high.
right? It does, there's not a whole lot of gutters, right?
No, I mean, I've done mine.
185 foot though, I don't know, sounds like a lot, but,
I'm surprised there's even that much, but okay.
okay. But if you think you might have some source, that'd be great to double check or get a couple different bids on it. I
It's
think
less
that's-
than 10,000 though.
Right,
So
I
you really-
understand.
You don't need, but. you're
We
right.
don't have to, but I'm thinking
Right.
if
No, it's
Stacy
always good to
thinks
ask.
it might.
The description of the work, is it just the lower roof that's getting it? Cause there's like, we don't know any details.
It's-
big would you
Well,
like
it
it?
says it's
Who can
the,
vote on
entire leading
Hold on one
edges of
sec.
the roof and then 2 drops at the rear to
So
direct
2
water
downspouts, will be
from-
two downspouts and then gutters, so 2 rear downspouts, it sounds like.
Well, that means then they're putting gutters on the front and the back. And I don't know if that's necessary.
I think the way the,
Only because the issue is, or the reason why we're doing it is for the sidewalks on the
I
front.
see what you're saying, maybe you don't need it on the back, but then is there a door, is there any kind of access at the rear?
absolutely, that's where they pick up the
Yeah.
mail every day.
That might be-
So that's an issue there as well.
Yeah. Well, the ice, what happens is that roof, what's happened in the past is it's been getting ice and then stuff, and then it falls, and it comes down with a pretty good velocity. And, you know what I mean, because it's sheets of
The
ice.
back is the sunny shot, sunny side of the building too. Okay.
There's a big tree that all the weeds fill up in the gutter and cause problems. Are these gonna
That's-
have the gutter guards on them?
We have to actually get the foam filled inserts because they don't make them for the half rounds. I'll talk to you.
Okay, well,
Let's authorize it.
okay.
Yes, get it
This has
done.
been going on for a long time, so
Get it done.
I'm in favor of doing that. So do we have a motion?
Dick has a question.
Dick? Oh,
Way to go, Dick.
yes, sir, we have public question.
In the last meeting I attended, there was discussion about contracting, and this meeting, we're talking about what I think is a significant expense, $3,800. And why is it we don't go out with an invitation for bids?
The procurement policy requires bids for $10,000 or higher.
Right.
We're a small town to start at 10,000. You know, you've argued a lot up here about $800 expenditures, $1,000 expenditures.
Mm-hmm.
I understand at the time, but it may be time to update that and lower it some.
Used to be 5,000.
But it-
It was increased because staff was taking so much time to run RFPs.
When you do a bid, it's gotta go out to bid, be publicized, things in the newspaper.
That's correct.
It's a lot, and so if you're talking something that's $2,000-3,000 and you're spending a big chunk of that just on advertising for it, it may not be.
No, I didn't
Cost.
say to go to 1,000. I think 3,800 is in the biddable zone area. And I understand about the delays that proper contracting costs. And I understand, as Dennis says, what monies you save by not it, but, you know.
But even under the old rule, that wouldn't apply, really. I mean, I think the point is you're right, we are trying to get multiple bids, and that's kind of what
Absolutely.
Stacy's bringing up too. She feels it's high, so that, therefore, we're gonna,
At least, I've seen, on small procurements, I've seen a requirement for 3 questions. 3 contractors be contacted.
Right.
Just informally.
yes.
Say, what would be your, or you come over here and give us an estimate. That may be
I think
too
that's
big.
reasonable, and also, we,
Mhm.
you know, if they do business with us, I think we should create a list of, these are good people that we've had bids with in the past.
Called a bidders list.
Right, and I don't know if we have one like that.
You
We,
might
at one
check.
time, we had something like
We
that.
do.
Check, I think there is a town, there might be a town policy that says between a spread, between the, going to RFP, there's a policy of soliciting 3 bids, but you don't have to do it through through the formal process.
Right,
And so it might be worth going back and looking.
looking at
because
that.
I think when we went to $10,000, it was a policy adopted that basically said,
Okay,
It's more of a formal thing.
so let's do that, let's review that, and then I think that's kind of the plan anyway, at any rate, the suggestion is maybe we'll get a couple other different estimates, just to make sure that that's a reasonable price. I think it's good policy too.
Oh,
So if we
absolutely.
don't have something like that, maybe we could look at just doing that, that we have a policy to get it
I
covered.
mean,
I think it makes sense.
You know, the fogs of time, so.
Yeah. Well, and then as you go along, you get down the road and people don't realize what the policy is, but I think we'll look at that thing and see what the options are. So at this point, do we have a motion to authorize up to $4,000? Do you want to do that and then see if we can get some additional quotes?
Sure, I'll make
Sure.
that motion.
Okay, so Stacy's made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Leo seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, I think it's good to at least get that moving. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the Warfield Master Plan text amendment that Julia had mentioned earlier. So we're gonna let you and Dawn get us up to speed with this. There's been a lot going on, so I know you got a lot to.
Okay, so everybody's reviewed the master plan text amendment, right?
Yes.
Any questions?
3
Good,
times.
Let's go on.
3 times.
The
This
planning
was
commission-
before.
The planning commission did pass a resolution at our last meeting recommending approval of the master plan text amendment as you've been provided. We did receive comments from some other agencies which have been incorporated. We're just introducing the text at this meeting and hoping for a public hearing at the next mayor town council meeting, is that correct?
Yeah, so there's two different things that have to be approved. One is the master plan, and the town council, the official public hearing for that was held by the planning commission. So, but we have advertised to the public that the mayor and town council would take comment on November 24th.
Right.
So just to be in keeping with somebody who might be out there waiting till November 24th to make comment, it seems reasonable to wait until next meeting to see if there's any comment.
And then on the zoning ordinance amendment, we had some rather substantive discussion with quite a bit of changes. So you were not presented with that at this meeting and should be introduced at the next meeting.
Right, so that schedule's been pushed back 2 weeks because there were some of the issues that Julia mentioned, and we'd rather do it right the first time and not rush it.
So I have a question for you. Is Warfield becoming the Warfield planning area? Is that supposed to be the main thing? Because there is the Warfield planning area and the Warfield complex is still in the master plan.
No, the Warfield complex references have been removed. It's on now the Warfield planning area. If you found complex somewhere, then
It's right here.
are you looking at an original version or is this the amended?
This
Because,
is what the file, 11/6/2004 file.
what page is that?
Well, it is a couple where it's not scratched off, and I noticed one, I'll have to get it to you, but, so it's all supposed to be the Warfield planning area, though, is that
Yes.
correct? Because I know that was one of the issues that,
There may be a historical reference to the Warfield
Right, right.
complex as the building, as the
Warfield
property
Park.
we got from the state, because the Warfield planning area includes the
Right, that's
MA,
fine.
right?
Right, so
We still
Warfield
have a Warfield
complex,
Development Corporation.
okay, we do, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
right, isn't the key issue, but the Warfield planning area has been changed.
right, with the map.
Right,
look
so
at
look
your
at the
map.
map, yes, it is.
Okay.
There's another place in here that.
But yeah, that was one of the comments from one of the agencies. They wanted more of the historical reference put back in after we had.
Oh, after you
some of
moved it?
Yeah.
Okay, just for historical
Yeah.
record to say that it's going from here to
Yeah.
there, okay.
Well, one of the changes is that, what we're proposing allows for residential use. So it's a planned employment center, that's the big issue, that this
Right.
Warfield area is gonna have a planned employment center, which allows for 5 different kinds of uses, which include residential.
Okay,
What we currently have doesn't include residential, and so that's the main reason we're making the changes.
yeah, I thought I saw it somewhere else, but it might have been the Warfield Development Corporation that I was thinking.
Right, but it does include residential, on a very minor scale. If you were to look at it, it's very, very limited in terms of what residential is in the current zone. Or the current master plan.
So the historical information they wanted is information about why we are including more residential now than we were before.
Right.
Because before it was like a hospital center where they were gearing the housing to be staffing housing.
Well, it was kind of limited to specific buildings because of the nature of the building and the use of, the adaptive reuse that a building can be put to. And so in the planning process, they said, that building may not be able to be used for anything else, so let's limit residential to that area. I think that's how they got it.
Right, I think it was limited because of the quads, and originally they kind of thought that big quad building wasn't gonna work out.
It was also limited because it was considered an employment campus.
Right.
So the county and the state wanted it to
Right.
be a job center, not a housing center.
Is
But
that
that
because of-
has been determined not to work with the market conditions, so just
That was
so,
because of the
discussed
historical-
months and months ago, yes.
Okay,
Right.
to remind the public.
I really did read this whole thing, I want you to know
Good.
that. So.
Good.
Okay, so any other, that's kind of just the update for now.
Well, it's the
And any-
introduction with the hope that at our next meeting, this will be approved.
Okay, so we're introducing this
Why don't you
one.
introduce it? Have a motion. to introduce it.
It's not,
No, it's not a-
it's,
No actions required tonight.
and it's
Julia,
not-
do you think the revisions that were made reflect the concerns that have been raised at the meetings
Yes.
and adequately address them?
Yes.
Okay.
The master plan was not the bulk of what needed changing, it was the zoning ordinance, but, yeah, I think we've looked at it in depth and incorporated everything that needed to be there.
I don't believe there were any comments from the public about the master plan,
Right.
only comments from state agencies.
Right.
And there was public, were in attendance at a number of meetings discussing it, so.
Oh, right, I was at
Yes.
one or two of them, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Good job. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So,
The edge.
the next opportunity for input will be at the November 24th meeting, is that correct? For the public, if anybody's interested for additional comments. Okay. All right. Okay, so then our next item is the request for the alcohol exemption for the event that we just had. So, hopefully that'll be approved. Since we kind of last minute had some discussions about having the event for Ivy Wells, and that requires the mayor and town council to approve alcohol at the event, so. We have a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to approve the use of alcohol at the Ivy Wells going away party that was just held this past Friday.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so that passed. Now, the funding for the
This is
said
there,
event,
yes.
right, for the
Well,
holiday
actually-
event, that's a different event.
Right, this,
For
I
holiday,
Well, we need to talk about funding for that too. so-
yes.
thought we were gonna talk, well,
We'll do both.
Okay, well, yeah, I think we're gonna figure that out later.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, we'll figure that out later. Let's do this one though first. This is for, this topic here is for authorization for funding for an employee holiday event, as we do every year. Last year's holiday event was held at Baldwin's, and it was a nice event, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
However, so this year we need to plan something for this year. And at least get some funding for it. Dawn's got maybe some ideas and stuff and thoughts about, maybe mixing it up and maybe supporting some other businesses or stuff, but
That's a
I
good
guess at
idea.
this point, do we need an authorization for funding and then perhaps an amount? Do you know what last year's amount was?
we
Do
were,
we know?
we were trying to check, but had a little trouble. We're thinking around $500 to $600, I think.
Really? Stuart had a party for $500? Wow, that's pretty good. You got a good deal. Okay, so I mean, maybe if we just authorize the same funding as that was in the
Yeah,
budget
that's
from
fine.
last year, I don't know what the exact number is, but we can reauthorize the same amount at this point and then see what that comes in at.
Is that what you're talking about, the same type of party as last year at Baldwin's, or you're talking about something different?
Well, I think we're talking about an event and we haven't, discussed yet what the options might be.
Right, one, we're trying to plan ahead and make reservations before the next council meeting, but two, I also want to talk to staff members, so this.
See what they enjoy. Okay.
Right, so it seems like there was some appreciation to be able to go off-site, and also to support a local business, but we're trying to decide, do we want to support the same business or perhaps another business in town?
Well, I think you're getting a poll from the council that they're all supportive of whatever would be the best that the employees come up with.
Darren, how many employees did we have last year versus this year? Is it the same? Because if we have more employees this year, it might not be reasonable to have the same amount.
That's true, we did,
Good
we
point.
were lower staffed, and I'm doing a rough calculation, it looks like what we did last year for $500 accommodated about 33 people, including staff and mayor and town council and, I think some auxiliary members. So that's a pretty good size, but I would say maybe we would have closer to 40 maybe this year.
So
Good-
just a few more.
Good
It's not
point.
like we're
Should we?
10 more.
Up at,
About 25% or 20%.
yeah,
Right,
600?
yeah, why don't we do that?
650?
Well, why don't we, instead of setting a dollar amount, since we're unsure of what the actual dollar amount was, just say up to 25%
Okay,
greater than
that makes sense.
what we
whatever it was
spent
last
last year.
okay, go ahead.
Okay. Do you have a motion for that?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, so we got, Julia made a motion and a seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, good, so you can start getting that thing moved. Thank you. Take care of it. Okay, so that's good. That concludes our open session items, right? Unless I missed something? All right, after last meeting at midnight, that's a refreshing break. So there will be some items on our closed session. Al, did you want to read our closed
Would be
session?
happy to. This meeting is proposed to be closed pursuant to the state government article of the annotated code of Maryland, section 10-508A, to discuss 1I, the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, designation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or 2, any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals, and to
And actually, you can stop there. Number 7, to consult with legal counsel, that item isn't necessary for the Warfield contract negotiations.
Okay,
Okay, there you go.
motion for a 5-minute recess.
Well, you should just read
Oh,
the other
You
two.
gotta read the other two events first.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, and then we'll have your comment in a second. Hold on. As soon as he does that, then we'll do your thing
Main
before we
Street
recess.
manager position, confidential information, personnel compensation for personnel.
Okay, and then, yes, sir.
I have a couple points I'd like to make real quick.
Sure.
First of all, I'd like to commend the chief for the handling of the elopement. I know how hard that kind of thing is, so please don't take my questions the wrong way. If you recall, some of us were involved when they first started bringing the special patrons in, and we were
Yes.
assured that escape would be impossible because they used a man trap. And those of us who've been through man traps know that that was ridiculous, and it has been proven to be wrong. My question to the chief is, Chief Williams tried to get them to tell him ahead of time when people were coming, and he was not successful. Have you been magically more successful than he has?
Probably not, no.
I was afraid not.
Yeah.
If you recall, there were some ugly accusations made at that meeting about our area being a dumping ground because of politics. And even though they were ugly, they are prima facie not provable to be wrong. Considering that there's going to be a change in Annapolis, would it be possible, and I actually looked at the council more than the chief because he's doing his job, it's more on you guys, to kind of ask if the chief could be given more information about these people who are coming in. If I was a police officer, I would like to know if a person is suicidal versus homicidal. And how I'm sure how the chief would his officers would approach such a person. Well, those are very different things. If someone's homicidal, they need to react differently than suicidal. And obviously there are privacy considerations, but I'm not talking about everything. I'm not talking about their social security number and their favorite color. I'm talking about whether they were violent to themselves or violent to others. And that's the kind of thing as, again, to commend the chief, when my kids were going through Sykesville Middle, the idea of having an officer on site was very helpful. but that officer should know whether someone is gonna do themselves harm or someone else, and if they have a particular violence type, you know, I wanna harm children versus I wanna harm fat, bald Irishmen. I think his men would like to know that. And I believe that's something that, in lieu of the changes in Annapolis, we may have a better chance of getting that information. And I'd like to propose that Sykesville pursue that kind of thing and be made available to the chief and his men.
So maybe going forward, we can see, Chief, when you look into that, what kind of disclosures would be appropriate and acceptable without violations of privacy, or notifications, I guess, when they're transporting, or bring, you know,
Yeah, I think
what are
once
your
the
thoughts?
launching takes place, they will share that
Oh,
information
yeah.
with us. But you're saying in advance?
He's talking like what they're bringing,
After
what,
your men do their magic, oh, let me tell you about this guy, is a little too late. And that's the kind of thing your men would know. And I actually would rather know, like I said, homicidal, suicidal, and more importantly, what their escape history is. If they're a mini Houdini, I'd like to know that versus a 70-year-old man in a wheelchair. I'm figuring that's one thing. You know, some 22-year-old can leap taller than I can stand. I'd like to know if he or she's escaped before.
These are convicted felons, correct? So their record is public.
Well, see, originally in the meeting, we were told these were patients and et cetera, and
Right.
again, without impugning anyone's character, we were told several, because I was there, we were told several things that I know for a fact are not true.
Their commitment status is not public.
Right, I don't think they're committed, yeah.
Under HIPAA.
For example,
so then we probably wouldn't get.
I work in the defense department. I've been through many man traps, all over the world, in fact. And the idea, oh, well, the doors can't open at both at the same time, to which my answer is, so the fire code doesn't apply? We let the people inside burn? No. Man traps can be opened on both sides in an emergency. I know this for a fact. We were told a lot of things that were wishful thinking and were not true. I don't know what the HIPAA concerns are, but I suspect a simple, Bill Smith, he's been known to escape before and he likes to harm people, is different than an 80-year-old man who's never walked away and he probably rolled downhill and he's suicidal. We got to get to him for himself. It's the kind of thing I think we should push for.
Well, we could certainly look into the options. I think that's probably the key, is to look in to see what the options are and see what the legal rights are, because.
These are the kinds of things you talk with your delegate about.
Yes.
We have new delegates now, too, so.
Right,
Yep.
so it seems to me that.
We should extend an invitation to our delegates.
Right.
Concerns presented to the delegate on behalf of the town.
There you go. All right, well, thanks for bringing it up. It's a good point, and we'll certainly investigate a little bit further and see what we can find on that. Okay, any other comments? Dick, one?
Just for the record, I'd like to say that there are many men in their 70s not in wheelchairs.
To play golf in the fall.
You're also not patient.
Right, that's true.
They let him out now.
Say something by now.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll be taking a 5-minute recess before closed session. Okay. Thank you all for coming.